right then. We're both doing well. That's it. We're done.
Yep, we got our formalities out of the way. Nothing else to talk about.
I think people just care about the fact that we're both doing well. And honestly, they don't care about anything else we talk about. I sometimes think that. I think people are tuning in to see how we're doing mentally and physically. And if everything's fine, they don't care. They're done after that. But prove us wrong, listeners. Tell us if you listen beyond the point where we introduce, where we greet each other.
That's right. Well, got a winter storm here, so
You got a winter storm?
got a nice winter storm going on today and tomorrow.
Wow. Is it like strong winds, whiteout? Is that type of thing?
Yeah, we got lots of snow. Not strong winds, but lots of snow.
Crazy.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Internet's already playing games, so we'll see how that goes.
It's got a head start on you. It's already playing games.
I do think it's related to the to the weather. It seems like a lot of the time now it coincides with the weather.
Well, because last weekend you had some issues. Do you think
Yep.
was the weather bad then?
Yeah, there was some snow.
Ah, okay.
There was like freezing rain on Tuesday, and it was bad again. So I called them because I said I gotta catch them and then I'll call them. So I called them, and they were like, "Oh well, we'll have to." And I said, I think it's storm related. Like I can track it down to when it's snowing out or when freezing rain or whatever. Like it seems like it's very consistent with that phenomenon. And they're like, "Oh, we'll have to call Coachco and see what they can do, and we'll call you back."
See, they became the middleman. I knew it.
They did. They became the middleman, but they never called me back.
Well.
But then my internet went out later that, like, maybe 2 hours later, and I was like, oh yeah, they're doing something. And it came back on. I didn't have any problems for the rest of the week, but also the weather wasn't bad the rest of the week. But now it's snowing again. Actually, now it's bounced right back. So I don't even know.
You don't even know.
Like I'm just sitting here running tests, just watching the thing, and
You become
5 minutes ago
obsessed.
5 minutes ago it was low, and then and now it's back, and I'm sure before the end of the thing it's gonna be low again. I don't get it, man.
This is your white whale.
This is my way. It really is. It really is.
I've never read Moby Dick, but you know what? I can feel it. I can feel this is it for you. What happens at the end? It's a happy ending, right? At the end of that book, he catches the whale?
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably.
I never read it either, so I have no idea.
So we'll assume it's a happy ending and everything will work out for you regarding internet.
This is something that went back like years, because I used to have the same issue at my old house. Or I have that same issue at my old house once, where it was just this weeks long slow internet thing, and I had Coachco come out a dozen times, and the guy was always like, "Yeah, it's fine. I'll go tighten the wire, but it's fine." Then like 5 weeks, it was like 5 weeks later, it finally went back to its normal speed. And I didn't have the issue again. I don't even know what happened. I don't even think it coincided with the technician coming out.
It almost feels like they're gaslighting you when that happens. Like, oh yeah, sure. We'll do some stuff. We'll tighten some bolts for you just to make sure that you're like, yeah, okay, he's
He just
fine
goes
now.
outside. He just goes outside, knocks his wrench on the side of the house.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
working on
We're
it. Oh,
getting
this is a
it.
big one.
This one's a doozy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I feel that way sometimes about tech-related stuff. And me being in tech, especially, it seems strange sometimes, the solutions that are presented.
Yep, I don't get it.
You got to start your own ISP. What can you do at this point? You got to start your own.
Yeah, but the problem is bullying into the Canadian system is near impossible, which is why we're in the shit we're in. I just need that Starlink,
Well, that was going to be my suggestion, but I feel like that's a faux pas to talk about now. Maybe that is the solution, though.
Ontario's spending whatever it is, $500 million or something like that on Starlink upgrades. So maybe that's the time to do it. And then he threatened to rip it up when they did the tariffs. And they said, well, we're backing off on the tariffs. So he said, okay, we're not going to rip it up. And then they implemented tariffs anyways, but they didn't do it exclusively against us. So I don't know where we are now. I finally called Coachco to cancel a month later.
Were they charging you for it already? Like still?
Yeah. I lost a month. It's all good.
So TextSavvy didn't cancel on your behalf?
No. So anyways, I called up Cogeco, and they put me on hold 3 times in the cancellation process. First of all, it drives me up a wall, right? And I get it, but I don't accept it. You can order internet with like 3 clicks of a button online. You know what I mean? But to cancel, you're not. You can't do it online. You can't even do it through their chat bot. I tried. You have to call. Then they're gonna put you on hold. And they're like, oh well, it's 15-minute hold time. lots of customers, all that kind of stuff.
Lots of people canceling.
Lots of people canceling. We only have one person because we don't want you to cancel. So we're just gonna make the experience as difficult as possible. So I got on the phone with somebody after 18 minutes. I said I want to cancel. They're like, why? And then just running through things. I got a cheaper rate, had problems, so I thought I'd try somebody else and see how they do, etc., etc. They're like, okay, I gotta put you through to the loyalty department. Okay, I was like, just fucking cancel me.
No. They got to make sure you're loyal.
Just cancel. So then they put me on hold again for another 10 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, listen, if I'm not happy with you right now, you know what's not going to change my mind? Putting me on hold a second time.
Did you say that as a reason next time they asked you? Because you put me on hold twice to cancel?
I actually didn't. I thought about it, but I didn't end up going there.
Oh, come on. It's not even a bad thing to say.
I know
That's just like literally speaking, that's actually correct.
Yeah. So anyway, so I get on the phone with another girl, and her tone of voice is like so different from the first one. Like she was so like sympathetic and like pouty, and
because she's the loyalty department, right?
Right.
She has to have the sex appeal.
So anyway, she was going through the things again with me. She's like, "Why can I help you? How can I help you?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm canceling." "No, I'm sorry to hear. Why?" "Well, I just told the other person, so I guess here we go again." So I give her the reasons, and she ignores the fact that I was having problems with the service. And she goes, "How much was Tech Savvy offering you?" I told her some number that was actually lower than it was.
Yeah, that's good.
And
she said free.
She puts me on hold again.
Secondary loyalty.
Yep.
She thought you were gay, so she put a guy that would talk to you instead.
That's right. So she puts me on hold again. And she comes back and she goes, "Oh, well, I can offer you $56, which is like $20 lower than Tech Savvy." It was lower than the number I gave her, but it was lower. It was even lower than the number I gave her because I think Tech Savvy was 75 and I told her 65 and she came back with 56.
Wow.
She's like, "Will you stay on?"
Pretty please.
Yeah. I'm like, "I'm not staying on." Like, "Why are you not off?" Like, it drives me up a wall that you can offer this, but instead you're charging me $100 and like, what was I paying with Coachco? I think $130 or something like that. Like, you can offer that and you're not.
But it's a loss leader if they do that, because if they charge you that much, they'll increase the price shortly. Well, not shortly afterward, at some point, and then you'll be back on the status quo. And they're assuming that most people aren't going to cancel. So it's
true.
A business thing. There's reasons for it, and I don't accept it either, but that's just how it works.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I don't know. That kind of stuff drives me up a wall. The thing is, too, is that when you're that much lower, like I'm paying 130, you're offering me 56. It's not really a loss leader at that point. It's very clear that there's some sort of middle ground where you can charge and make money, and you're just choosing not to.
Yeah. They're business people.
Yeah.
They want the big bucks.
Yeah, which is, I don't know. I'm okay with some places doing that. I'm not necessarily okay with quote-unquote essentials doing that, which internet really isn't essential at this point.
Yes, nowadays it is.
But, I hate that kind of stuff. So whatever. I was like, no, I already switched over to Tech Savvy, so we're doing this. The thing is, I'll come back in a year as a new, quote-unquote new customer. And the new customer deal that I saw at Christmas time was like $30. So
for a full year or just?
Yeah, it was for a year, I think. Maybe even 2 years. I can't remember, but it was, yeah. There are options here. Like, I feel like the best strategy, and again, maybe I won't qualify as being a new customer when I sign up.
You'll just change your name.
Customer.
Rusty Shackelford.
That's right. Raji's been watching
King of the Hill, of course.
That's right. So I'll just keep bouncing between ISPs, I guess, and just see how long I can ride that wave. Or I'll just call up Tech Savvy in a year and say I'm switching back over to Cogeco and see what their loyalty service does.
That was a big thing in Vancouver. I remember people were often recommending, oh yeah, we just switch every year, back and forth between TELUS and Shaw.
Yeah, which I guess is a pain in the ass, but if they're offering the same services, the exact same services, like why not? It's not like one service is different than the other.
I mean, for me, that would have been inconvenient because one of them is cable, one of them's fiber, DSL, whatever.
Okay, that's fair, yeah.
I don't know. But people were doing that because they did like the deals. For me, it was like, the hassle is not necessarily worth it.
No, that's true. And one of those is like, if Bell had actual fiber here, which they don't, I'd switch to Bell and I wouldn't look back, but they don't. So
yeah, it's too bad.
I check every once in a while because eventually they will.
do you get to see a region of where it's available? I'd be curious to know how close they are to where you are that it's already available. I wonder if it's expanding at a certain pace.
I don't know, to be fair with you. I imagine they got to be some. They have to have it in the city somewhere. So it's just a matter of when it's going to move this way. Like I don't know when it is, but they got to have it here somewhere. We're not a small town. We're not Toronto, but we're not a small town. So I would think it's coming eventually.
It'd be sad if you were like just across the road. Maybe the red light house has it, but you don't.
When I signed up for at my old house, yeah, the red light house. When I signed up for internet back in my old place, I can't remember who it was with, but they checked my address first, right? This was I think during the one gig haul, right? When everything was starting to do the 1 gig stuff. They checked the service at my house first, and they're like, "Oh, it's not there." I think I had checked like the address across the road before I called them, and I was like, "Well, check the address across the road." She's like, "Oh yeah, they got it." I was like, "Well, how the hell does the address across the road have it, and we don't have it?"
Well, they're so far away.
Well, she's like, "You're probably right, so we'll send a technician out and we'll see what we can do for you." So they did send the technician out, and they did get me on the 1 gig. But yeah, it happens. So I'll like look at I'll check like other houses around just to see if it's like a couple houses away. Because chances are, if it's a couple houses away, then we do have it. But I didn't have any luck with that. I don't know where the closest one, and there's only so far I can check because I don't know what the street numbers and all that kind of stuff is.
You could just walk door to door.
There you go, sir. Do you have
fiber internet from Bell? I'm not a salesperson. I just want to know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just seeing if I can run. Just see how long of an extension cord I need.
No, just splice it. Yeah, just hire a technician under the table. Just get them to use their little toolkit to splice the fiber to your end as well.
That's right.
Just carry it over the take a clothesline from the other side of the street to yours and just run it along the clothesline. Surely that'll be fine. Fiber is not that delicate.
I'll dig a hole. If I have to dig a hole, I'll dig a hole. To get fiber, I'll go underground. Why not?
I think it would be a miserable experience to do that. Well, yeah,
What's that?
especially now. Well, I feel like it's such a miserable experience to run fiber just like that, ad hoc.
You dig a little ditch, you throw some wires down, and just keep digging the ditch. You hit some concrete, you break it up. You got to do it when nobody's around. That's the only issue.
Yeah, you got to bribe that cop that's always in front of your house.
That's right, yeah, to look the other way. Yeah. Aren't there some shootings you can deal with?
Look, there's one over there.
Yeah.
Can't you hear it?
Ditch. So there we go. We got the plan all carved out. So anyway, I had another phone call yesterday that my credit card was being stolen.
Really?
I just had so many phone calls yesterday, man.
On Valentine's Day. That was your Valentine's Day, chatting people up on the telephone.
That was it. I spent 40 minutes or something on with Kojiko to cancel my stupid service. So anyways, they did finally cancel the service. And they're like, hold on, I want to finish my Kojiko story, and then we'll go back to the fraud. So then they're like, well, you got to send your box back. Yeah, no, I know. And we're going to give you a code that you give to the post office. I'm like, can you just ship me? Can you just friggin' email me labels? Now I got to write down this code, and I got to go to the post office and say, I need to send this back to Kojiko. Here's my thing. Just give me a friggin' label I can tape to the box. That's how they used to do it. Why do I got to say something to Canada Post now? Just want to send my thing. Just let me keep it. It's not even good. What do they even do with the old ones? They're not going to give it to somebody else. It's friggin' 3 years old.
They ship them off to Africa.
Give them to the African people. It's not good enough for us.
No. They dump them into the landfill in Africa. There's a huge tech landfill there that all the big companies dump stuff to.
Really?
Dump stuff in. Yeah. Actually,
I just don't understand.
That was a fun little story. Is I think it's in Africa, this place, but so it's like this supposedly huge, gigantic dump site. And what's actually happened in the past is big corporations would dump their hard drives there, and they would think that everything's been dismantled, and presumably it was, but the people who lived there, they started groups that would actually salvage all those pieces of hard drive and managed to recover confidential data from companies that dumped their hard drives and didn't dispose of them properly enough.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. And then they would they would blackmail the companies to give them money.
I don't get why they do that though. Wouldn't it just be cheaper to say to the person, keep your router, especially if it's an older one? I'm sure they can determine that.
Yeah, I don't know about the modem. I'm just giving generally speaking, that's what they would do. But I don't know about the modems, yeah. Presumably it's old, right? You have an older one?
Yeah, this is the one I moved in with, so it's 3 years old.
Well, yeah, maybe 3 years is already cutting
Like
it.
you're not gonna like I would get it if they gave me one like last week and I'm like, oh, I'm canceling. Like, yeah, give me it back. We're gonna go give it to somebody else. But I don't think they're gonna give my old one to somebody else. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they will, but
I wonder if they have a deal with the company that they get them from.
no, maybe.
So maybe it's not Kojiko stipulating it, but the hardware manufacturer.
Yeah, who
Or maybe
knows?
it's like it's under warranty still, so they're able to get a replacement.
Yeah, that might be true.
You know, it'd be cool. I mean, if this was like a YouTube channel, you could get an AirTag or some other tracking device, put it inside the modem, and see where it goes. Maybe it goes to Africa. You could spy on
There
it.
you go. That's right.
I would
could
probably
spy
do
on
that.
it.
That would be
Or
pretty
if it goes
cool.
to somebody else's house, I can go steal it back.
You could go and introduce yourself. Say, "Hey, you got my modem. We're soulmates now."
That's right. Yeah. Yep. That's right. That'd be an adventure all into itself. It's too bad we don't have proper YouTube.
We don't have presence on YouTube, yeah.
We should switch over.
What?
I think we're moving on. I think it's time to move on from the Hello Internet model and go to the
Mr. Beast model?
no, not Mr. Beast model. I'm thinking the Good Mythical Morning.
What's that about?
It's kind of like podcast format, but on YouTube.
It's like there's a video.
Yeah, there's video. Yeah, it's video.
Well, so
Yeah.
like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, yeah. But they do more fun stuff than to just sit there and do
Oh,
an actual
okay,
talk.
just talking. Okay. Yeah, we don't do fun stuff.
No, we don't. We just talk.
We talk and then we have a couple segments that are supposed to be fun, but probably only fun for us.
Yeah, people probably turn it off at that point.
Tournament of Things? We don't care about that.
That's why we backload them so that people could just shut it off once the good stuff's over. Yeah. Or words or movies.
I don't know. I think the movies are fun. We attract the movie buffs that way. Watching all these classics like Abduction.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so fraud time. So I got a call yesterday from the bank, and I don't usually answer a lot of those calls, but when I saw the bank on there, I was like, ah, crap. Like I already knew. I was like, there's a chance they're either trying to sell me something, or there's a fraud thing, and I missed a fraud thing in the past, and I'll never understand this. If they can't get through to the person, why do they allow the charge? Because that's what happened. I missed the call. They allowed the charge. It was like a $4,000 charge or something like that. I remember calling them. I'm like, why did you even let this go through afterwards? Or I had to go into the bank or something like that. I just remember saying, asking like, why'd you even let this go through? Oh, well, that's just the policy. I said, well, your policy sucks. If I'm making a purchase and it gets declined, because it's going to get declined the first time when they call, or it's going to say like credit card hold or something like that. I don't know what it says. If I'm making the purchase, I'm obviously going to wait for the call. And I'm going to answer the call and say, yeah, it's good. I need to make this purchase. If I'm not answering, chances are I'm not making the purchase. Like, it's really fucking simple. Don't charge the credit card if you can't get a hold of the person. If you think it's fraud and you can't get a hold of the person. So I was like, oh, I better answer this just in case. As a worst case scenario, it's somebody trying to sell me something. I could just say no. But anyway, sure enough, he calls and he says, oh, you got, are you in, I can't remember what he said. Are you in Montreal or something like that? I'm like, I'm not in Montreal, dude. Oh, there's a charge coming through in Montreal, something or other. I said, it's not me. We'll cancel it and all that. Meanwhile, the whole time, and I'm not being mean, I'm not being racist or anything like this, dude has the thickest fucking Indian accent I've ever experienced on the phone. And it's just like, I don't even understand half of what he's saying. So he's like, are you doing this, that, or the other thing? I'm like, no, it's not me. I don't even know what the question is at this point. I'm just saying it's not me.
What if he asked you, are you not there?
Yeah.
Double negatives all the way through, and then you accidentally just agreed to all of the charges?
But I'm just like, it's not me. All right. Do whatever you need to do to get it over with. I get the whole call center thing, but for fraud, can you please put somebody who speaks English on the phone? Like, it's fine if he wants to work here or whatever. I don't even know where he is. They probably
Oh, no,
outsource straight to India,
they're
right?
in India. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but like, the fraud is too important to not be able to understand what he's saying. It's fine if he was just doing customer service, whatever. That's fine, but it was too thick for I kept having to go, I need you to repeat this. And the thing is, people who can't talk English well, they talk fast. I feel like English is one of the slower languages.
They talk fast because they're nervous.
Well, maybe.
That's probably one of the reasons. But also, it could be that I think Indian is pretty fast, so they might have that tendency based on their native language.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, English is like a slower language. Like, when you hear like French people talk, they talk so fast.
Because they got to, geez, it's so long to say anything.
That's true, right? But I don't know. So I was thinking like, oh, maybe it's the same thing. Was that they talk so fast, and I'm just so between that and just the broken English and just the heavy accent, it's just like I can't understand. Like the amount of times I had to get him to repeat it, and I'm just like, dude, you have to slow down because I can't. You have to slow down and enunciate your words because I cannot understand you. Of course, that doesn't help because they don't actually know how to enunciate the words because they don't know what the inflections are. So, so you end up with a bunch of weird sounding words, right? But at least you're able to push. At least I was able to push through it. It was just annoying, and it's just like you gotta. There has to be a higher level of English competence when you're dealing with like the fraud department. And like there just has to.
Well, yeah, I think fraud, because people usually, when it's fraud, they're already anxious.
Yeah.
So they're less tolerant of difficulty understanding something.
Well, you want to be able to understand what's being told to you. That's what it is. Like he's trying to tell me like what the charge is and where it is, and I'm just trying to like just piece together random words, and I'm just looking for a word that doesn't make sense. So when he says Montreal, it's like, okay, okay, nothing in Montreal. So there's the red flag. I don't know what the fucking rest of what he said was. I don't know what the person was trying to purchase or where, but it was in Montreal.
But it was this place, Saint Catharines, it's the something.
Yeah, there you go.
And then you say no, and then well, I mean, presumably you didn't actually have any charges at the time, so either way,
No.
you would have been able to say no, doesn't matter where it is, it's not me.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyways, we got through that, and then he started setting up all this fraud prevention stuff that I don't know how the fuck it's going to affect my day-to-day purchases anymore.
You're going to try to buy something at the grocery store. They're going to decline it. They're going to cancel the card right then and there.
Like I don't even know. And then to make matters worse, I was like, he's like, oh, we're going to send a new credit card. You get it in 6 to 7 days or whatever. And so I was, when he was talking to me, I was on the line on my account, and I'm like, well, my address isn't right. So there's a new thing. I was like, you're going to send me a credit card. It's going to go to the wrong address. So I'm trying to get him to understand what my new address is. And I don't know if he got it because he never repeated it back to me, which always makes me nervous. When somebody is, when in my experience, if I'm giving something out to somebody on the phone, important, and they don't repeat it back to me, I have no confidence that they actually understood what I was saying. There's just that confirmation step that's just kind of needed in that kind of stuff. So I don't know where my credit card is going to end up going. Fingers crossed that he got it right.
Because are you able to access the address online? Are you able to change it and view it?
He said to wait 24 hours or something because they were updating all the security stuff. So I'll probably check it tomorrow.
Yeah, it's always ideal to keep that up to date if you have access to the online account.
Yeah, I never keep it up to date. It's all my old stuff because then I got to change it on everything, which I have to do now anyways. So
that's why, yeah, it always is a hassle, and I have like basically a list of all places that have my address, and I have to keep that up to date. It's a pain, but that's how it is.
Now I got to change all my payments over because they're all on this credit card. So now I got to update the credit cards and all that fun stuff, which is why I actually decided to call Kojiko yesterday, because I'm like, well, I'm going to have to check this off the list anyways because everything's going to expire and they're going to start sending me collection notices. So he's going through the list, and and he keeps putting me on hold for the longest friggin' times. And he'd come back and he'd be like, sir, I sent you a code. What's the code? And so I'm getting these codes, right? And sometimes I wouldn't get the code. So I'm like, okay, I didn't get the code. And then I'm like, but I got a phone call. And then he's like, okay, next time it rings, answer the phone. Then it didn't ring again. And he's like, no, I sent you a code. So we're going back and forth on all this. So anyway, so he sends me these codes, and he's like, what's the number in the code, right? And this is where I start to get like nervous, although I looked up the number, but you can't help but get nervous when you see something like this.
Yeah, because what if they're scamming you through this?
Right, because what it said, because I tell you what it said, because I get these codes from RBC, and it says, we're sending you a code for your purchase of 100 euros at whatever. Do not share it with anyone. And then it sends me the thing with the code, and it says, do not share it with anyone. RBC will never ask for this code. And I'm like, these text messages are telling me never, you're not going to ask me for this code, and you're asking me for this code. He's like, no, sir, don't worry. I'm the fraud department. I'm the only one who will ask for the code. Well, that's not what the text message says.
See, I get it. I looked up the number now, though, but I don't know. I'm still worried now for you because they really shouldn't be asking for those codes. I mean, it's RBC, so you said it's RBC, right? So they're pretty old-fashioned, hence why I don't use RBC. But yeah, I don't know. It's quite concerning to me.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll log in tomorrow and I'll see whether or not the charges went through. He's like, no, it's just because we're setting things up, and this is new, and So we're really just setting up the system. And then because one of them was like, it said Royal Bank Fraud Department, please confirm today's activity on credit card, whatever, for this amount at wherever. Plus, press Y to confirm. Otherwise, reply N. And the dude's like, press Y. I'm like, hold on a second. Hold on a second. No. He's like, no, it's just to set it up. This is just a test run. I'm like, I'm going to lose all my money tomorrow. But anyways, I'm trusting them, and I'll find out tomorrow. And if it is, then I'll have to call them legit and tell them. But it was from their number, so unless they can somehow spoof a number.
I feel like they can. I feel like it is possible to spoof it.
Yeah, maybe we're getting that. Maybe we're getting to that point, but I don't know. If he put me on the phone and put me through all those steps, and it ends up with me losing all my money on my credit card, he fucking earned it, I guess.
despite the thick Indian accent.
Yeah.
Maybe that was all just a trick. He seems so innocent because of the Indian accent. But in the end, he just spoke fluent English if he wanted to. The proper con artist.
It was actually funny because, was it the night before? I think it was the night before. I was watching a movie called The Beekeeper, and it started with this call center scamming this old lady out of like $2 million. So... So I'm already on high alert, and then I guess the whole thing is the Beekeepers because it's this hitman guy who runs through this network called the Beekeeper, and the old lady killed herself. And
whoa, now don't spoil anything.
This is like the first half an hour of the movie.
Well, half an hour is a lot. That's all you watched? This is the movie. Yeah, this is the new Jason Statham movie, right?
Yeah, I think it was Jason Statham.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but it looks good. I thought he was actually a beekeeper, but I guess not.
I don't know if he is a beekeeper. I don't know what the whole thing was, but whatever. It was like a whole movie in a half an hour, and there was more, and then I just didn't watch it. But then he goes to the call center. He finds out through his network of beekeepers, who it is, and then he goes to the call center. He kills everybody.
That's beautiful.
And then the movie goes on from there, and I don't know what.
That's where the movie starts.
But yeah. So anyway, so I'm already on high edge because I'm talking to this guy, and I'm just thinking back to this movie I watched like less than 24 hours ago.
You're gonna have to go Jason Statham on him.
Yeah, I'm like, I wonder how I get access this Beekeeper network in case I gotta go kill some people. But so that was. Anyways, I was on the phone. It was so long. I was on the phone with him for an hour and 20 minutes.
So 40 minutes and an hour and 20 minutes? Jesus.
Yeah. So he says, okay, so now when you make a charge, it's going to ask you to do the yes or no thing. And I'm like, so even if I'm in like Walmart making a known purchase, he's like, no, this is only if you make an online purchase. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess it was online. Again, I didn't understand him whether or not it was an online purchase or an in-store purchase.
The Montreal one?
Yeah. So I don't know precisely what he's, protecting me from, but so it was just a whole thing. And it's just like, man, this takes so friggin' long. It actually takes longer now than I've had my credit card stolen like 4 or 5 times in my life. And
was it all RBC?
No, probably most of them were, but I used mostly my RBC one. But I know I've had 1 or 2 that were through my TD. And this one took longer than any other ones. Some of them I just would go into the place and say my thing was stolen, and they'd sit me down with a rep, and I'd be in and out in 20. They'd have a stack of credit cards, or one of them I think was my actually bank card. They had like a stack of cards, rubber banded together on their desk, and I remember she just pulls one out. She goes, "Here's your new card."
Oh, that's nice.
I'm like, really, off that stack, huh? She said, yep. Do they all say the same number? It was pretty painless.
That's pretty good. That's the old-fashioned way of doing it. Now it's all digitized, Way. Everybody's got to go through digital hoops and ladders.
Exactly. This was the longest one. And RBC is a little bit more difficult to deal with nowadays, I find, because I don't have a client card with them, and everything runs through the client card. So they always ask me, what's the client card? I don't have a client card. Well, you should have a client card. Well, I don't have a client card.
So you just have the credit card with them, right?
I used to have so the reason I have RBC is because when I was, 18 or 19 and first went to university, my dad was like, well, we're going to get you a credit card. So he took me to RBC, and they had a credit card, and they also said to get you a credit. I don't remember why I went to RBC. I really don't. When I was with TD for everything. I think maybe they just had some student things going on that was just made it easier. They're like, well, we got to open you an account to get the credit card. So I was like, fine, whatever. Open me the account. I'm never going to use it. So they opened the account, but because I never used it, probably like 10 years ago, they closed it. But now everything I do with RBC, they say, what's your client number? But also my RBC card is the only one that gives rewards. So that's why I use it over my other ones. I have 3 credit cards. I got one for RBC, which is rewards. So that's what I use for everything. And then I pay it off every month, right? The other one I got a Rogers MasterCard. And that I only put my cell phone bill on. It's the only time I ever use it is for my cell phone bill.
Because you have Rogers.
Because I have Rogers. So like once a year I get like a free bill or something like that. And it's MasterCard, so it's the other. You should have a Visa and a MasterCard because I guess they hit your credit report differently. I don't know all the ins and outs of that versus like 2 Visa cards. And then I have a TD Visa, which is low interest. So if I ever need to move, which actually is kind of redundant because now I have like lines of credit, which is even lower interest than the credit card stuff. So, but at the time I had it because if I ever needed to move it over to something more low interest, that's what that card was for. But I almost never use it. I think my Crunchyroll subscription is on it and my Final Fantasy subscription is on it. Why? I don't know. But also I just need to keep it kind of revolving, right? So that's what I have. But I always use the RBC one. I don't know. Maybe I should look into getting a rewards one with TD or something so I can just close out my RBC account. But I like the rewards because every few months I get $100 off or something. Or if I forget about it, Christmas will go by and they'll be like, oh yeah, you can buy a pair of mittens or something like that.
A pair of mittens?
Because the reward points are so freaking high. Yeah. All those reward programs, they used to be much better.
Yeah, they're generally not very good, I find. I don't even worry about those. I think the only ones that are still good are travel-related ones, but that's only good if you actually travel.
Well, even the travel-related ones are very strict with what you can get now.
Yeah.
Airlines and all that kind of stuff.
They're strict, but I would still say they're more generous than anything else you can get.
Yeah.
Because I look into them sometimes. I never actually signed up for anything like that, but it's nice to know that, okay, well, if ever I wanted to travel more, then yeah, it might be worth getting one of these.
Yeah.
Because before I would always just have it's 1% earnings on whatever. I prefer, to the point of not credit cards, but equivalent of credit cards is you can get these digital credit cards where it's tied to the same account, but they have their own number. You can use one for each service. So if something goes wrong, you cancel just that one. And there's multiple companies. There's for example, Wise, Revolut, and probably a couple more. They're really convenient though because, it's really good to know that, okay, well, this one is specific to this service. If something goes wrong, you literally just cancel that one. You don't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah.
It's not the same, but it gives you the same peace of mind as PayPal. PayPal is nice in the sense that you don't necessarily have to cancel a credit card if you use PayPal for it because PayPal will always route it to some payment. So if you need to add a new card onto PayPal, it'll use that one instead of your old one. So there's convenience to having something like PayPal because you don't have to go through all the different services and change the credit card there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
yeah.
I back in Canada, I don't use it as much anymore because PayPal is country specific, unfortunately. So it still works for some of the things I use it with, but not everything. I would argue that I would use PayPal. If someone was in Canada and they had lots of different services, I would probably just use PayPal for as much as you can.
Right.
Because you do get the convenience of not having to worry about switching any credit cards.
It's true. I use PayPal for some stuff. I have some stuff linked to my PayPal.
Yeah, you can't do everything with it, but it's nice and convenient. Even like Crunchyroll, for example. I know for a fact that you can use it for PayPal. You can use it with PayPal. It's also convenient because you can see all the services as well. There's a page on PayPal where you can see everything.
Yeah. Mostly the reason I use my RBC is the rewards. I know it's not a lot, but, a little bit's better than nothing, so.
That's one of the downsides to one of these services. Well, actually, no. With PayPal, you still get the rewards because it still goes through the credit card.
Oh, I guess, yeah, because you link your credit card to the PayPal. Yeah. So
you can definitely still do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe something to look into if you decide that, I don't want to use my RBC anymore, and you don't want to have to switch everything again.
Yeah, true. Find out which ones use the PayPal. Yeah.
I think it's a lot of the times it works with the more modern stuff.
Crypto. I just got to go into the crypto. We just need to.
But not everything uses crypto. That's something.
That's true.
Only the hip news services use crypto, support crypto, and not everything. Sometimes they only take Bitcoin and not something that's completely untraceable.
Right.
You got to be untraceable on the internet, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I got to be untraceable with all my transactions so I can show my face and all my information nightly on Twitch TV Yeah.
Yeah, you got to separate your nightlife from your streaming life.
Exactly. But I don't know. That's where we're at. So, anyways, that was my adventures yesterday of phone calls.
Good times. Very romantic.
Yeah, that was my Valentine's Day. My date with the Indian guy and the sympathetic woman. Menage a trois, as it were.
Exactly. I don't know, man.
And then the snowstorm. I was like, man, I gotta go to like a hotel or something for the weekend because I don't want to shovel my thing.
Oh yeah, you're on the hook to shovel, right?
The thing with the shoveling is my neighbors are so quick at doing it that I never get out there
So you feel
before
like
they do.
you're
So I feel bad. Like I'm just fucking late. Like they're like, oh, that lazy motherfucker at the top. On the top floor is not pulling his weight.
Royal
But it's
Highness,
like, dude, it's not. I'm not sitting at the fucking window. I'm not sitting at the fucking window waiting for the snow to build up over an inch so I can rush out there and do it. Like, I'll do it, but I got to do it on my time. But when my time comes around, it's already done. So
yeah, well,
it makes me feel bad. I feel bad. So I'm like, if I just fucking go to a hotel or something, you're gonna have a lot of bleeps in this episode. It is what it is.
oh, I don't know. You know, it's funny. Sometimes there's no bleeps. Sometimes you swear very, very little. And then other times it's like you're sending them out.
Today's a big one.
No stopping.
Today's a big one.
No, today's actually still fine. There's been times where it's been like probably 20 in total.
I feel like I'm close to 20.
Nah.
I feel like I'm close to 20. Okay. All right. But it's just like I was like, I'll go to a hotel and then I don't feel so bad. When I get back, I'll be just like, oh, I was just out of town. Meanwhile, I'll just be over 2 streets at the Ramada there, bowling for the weekend.
Yeah, that's it. You could just say I'm at a bowling tournament.
Yeah. Well, I don't have to tell them where I was. I just say out of town.
Wow.
It's not like they're gonna be like, oh, where out of town?
That'll be a lie. You'll still be in town.
Check your references.
Yeah. Well, what if one of them is a sleuth? They're gonna be thinking, this guy's a liar and lazy.
That's right. Yeah. I was like, well, maybe I actually will go out of town, but it's actually worse up north, like Toronto way. So,
well, we'll have to ask Joel how he's faring.
Yeah, because the one on Tuesday, like we got an ice storm right on Tuesday, and my car was, when I went out on Wednesday morning to go to work, my car was covered in, like, it was just a sheet. The whole thing was a sheet of ice. So it took me like 20 minutes to chip all the ice off the windows and headlights and all that kind of stuff. Like, it was just a sheet of ice. And we got maybe an inch of snow. And I talked to some people in Oakville, and they were like, yeah, we got a foot. And I guess this storm is supposed to be the same, where that way gets it worse than we do. And we're supposed to get a foot, which isn't a lot. Like, I think back to like Ottawa days. I remember the one year the bus strike was on and it snowed like crazy and the banks were higher than my head. And I remember the buses couldn't, I remember when the buses did start running after the strike was over. I remember the bus got stuck on the road because they had the banks were so big, but people were still parking on the side of the road. So the bus literally couldn't get through the road. I can't remember how they resolved it, but I think they had to go find whose cars they were and tell them to get out of the road so the bus could get there. I'm just like, go around. No, there's a stop up ahead. Well, not today. There's not.
It's like in a video game where they just force you to go a certain route.
Yeah, exactly. And they have to, otherwise they're gonna get fired or something. I'm like, dude, like we were stuck there for like half an hour. Worst part was my stop was like 3 roads up. I should have just gone down and walked, but I sat there
in the warmth, at least.
Well, exactly. That was it.
I wonder if those bus simulators, if they have that aspect of having heavy snowfall. Probably not, eh?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because I don't know. I've never seen weather effects in those games.
Yeah, no, me neither. Yeah,
obviously,
it's always clear.
Flight Simulator, I imagine there's weather effects, but not like Truck Simulator. I don't feel like I've seen any videos, any clips where there's like bad weather in those games.
That's true.
That'd be pretty intense. You got like a snowdrift coming.
You gotta play one of those games, like maybe not the Bus Simulator, but what's SnowRunner, I think it's called.
No, but that's different. That's built for that. I'm talking just like a general purpose. Here's the city, and it's snowing like crazy, but you still have to work, and your bus is swerving all over the place, and you're running into other cars.
I want it sunny and nice.
Yeah, but I mean, it would be like that sometimes. But I just feel like those simulators are really missing something if they're not capturing all the different weather patterns.
I watched somebody play Desert Bus. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, yeah.
Game.
I love that game. It's beautiful.
And you just drive straight for 8 hours. And he did it. And I'll tell you, you know why he did it? He did it because he does sometimes these weird challenges with the chat where, oh, I'm going to do this painful thing so I don't have to do that painful thing unless I fail. So his whole thing was he's going to play Desert Bus for 8 hours, and if I fail, because I guess the wheel like swerves you or something, so
Yeah,
if you, like, go off
you
the road,
can't just
you
press
fail.
forward because
Yeah.
there's a bad
And he
wheel on
actually
one
had
of the
a
sides.
driving wheel. He set up his driving wheel for it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And he said if I fail, I'm going to play Ninja Gaiden 3.
Which one? Ninja Gaiden 3 or Ninja Gaiden like Razor's Edge, the new one? Ninja Gaiden NES or Xbox?
No, the 3D one.
Oh, how is that a bad thing?
He hates the Ninja. He hates the Ninja Gaiden.
Well,
games.
that's his loss.
I watched him play, and you know what? Remember I was saying that I was going to do the Ninja Gaiden for my stream? I watched him play Ninja Gaiden 1. I'm not touching Ninja Gaiden.
All right, fair enough.
It looked like a miserable experience. I completely understood where you came from.
Fair enough.
And then I saw he was doing the desert. He'd rather drive in a straight line for 8 hours than play Ninja Gaiden 3. And I was like, oh man. I was like, whatever. He did it though. He drove a straight line for 8 hours.
The only thing fun in Desert Bus is when a bug splats against your windshield every 2 hours.
Yeah, I watched. I didn't watch the whole thing. Because I'm not going to sit there and watch him drive straight for 8 hours. But I came back like at a couple times, and he did have a bug on his windshield.
Yeah, it happens once in a while.
Yeah, that was it. I come in, I'd like watch like 10 minutes, and I'd be like, "This is all there is."
So,
huh?
so it's an 8-hour game because I've never actually I haven't beaten it.
You
or
have to
anything.
drive 360 miles.
Okay.
Which takes, I guess, 8 hours exactly.
Nice. Okay.
And you just get to this little bus stop, and then there's like a cutscene that says you won.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, or it says high score. It was like a road sign that said high score 1.
Because you can do it again, right?
I guess, yeah, and then your counter goes up. Yeah. So that was it.
This is like the art house type of film, but as a game.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's got to be the only purpose. There's got to be some. But I guess they do that big charity thing though with it, don't they? They do the Desert Bus for Hope, and it raised I looked it up. It raised $7 million or something last year. I don't know exactly what it is because it showed them like dancing and stuff, but it was called Desert Bus for Hope. So I don't know. I don't know the whole ins and outs of the charity, but they have used it for charity.
Got to use it for something.
Well, yeah, because otherwise, who the hell makes that game? Who sits there and says, "I just want to do a desert bus drive simulator that has nothing," and then you turn around, there'll be like ghost heads like swiveling around. I don't know what those were. I feel like they were, but it was weird. But yeah, I'm like, wow, 8 hours of that, huh? Good for you.
It's a full work day. It's an honest day's work. That's all.
He probably made more money, the streamer, doing it than I made in friggin' all month. So
That's pretty impressive. You got to admit.
Yeah. All to avoid Ninja Gaiden 3. The links people will go to. He's done other things for like Banjo-Kazooie and stuff like that too.
Like challenge runs.
Yeah, he'll put himself through like challenge things where he goes, if I fail. Like I think one time he did, because I originally found him, he did Super Mario ROM hacks. Anyways, I'll put his name out there. I feel like I'm talking about him a lot to not do it. It's Barbarous King.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned him before.
Oh, yeah, I like him. He's one of my favorite streamers. Anyways, he does Super Mario ROM hacks. So he did one challenge that was like he has to beat 1,000 Super Mario ROM hack levels in 100 hours is what it was. And he said if I fail, I have to play Banjo-Tooie.
What's wrong with Banjo-Tooie?
He hates Banjo. He hates the Banjo-Kazooie games.
What's wrong with this guy?
That's what I know, because I love the Banjo-Kazooie games.
So presumably you'd like Ninja Gaiden as well.
No. Normally we're pretty on par, but his Banjo-Kazooie thing's a little extreme. But he's all played, and he failed, so he had to play Banjo-Tooie, and he hated it. He hated it unexpectedly, or expectedly. He hated it. So yeah, when I saw him play Ninja Gaiden, and to be fair though, like it wasn't just like I heard him ranting about it. I actually watched him do it, and you know, I watched some of it, and I'm like, oh no, this is not going to be something I enjoy. You know.
Wait, did he play it on normal difficulty?
No, he played on the hardest difficulty.
Well, that's the problem. Who the hell plays Ninja Gaiden on the hardest difficulty? They build it so that you play it on normal first.
Yeah, but you know, like, okay, I thought about that. I was like, well, I could do it and just do it on normal, but also that's how I play games.
Yeah, but that's not the way it's designed. They designed it so that the hardest difficulty is for people who actually are veterans of the game. Not to mention it's locked, even. The hardest difficulty is Master Ninja.
No, he did it on the hardest difficulty. No. He did it on the hardest difficulty that was unlocked.
So hard. Because there's only normal and hard, I believe, that's unlocked.
Well, that's what it was.
Hard is still tolerable, but I would say for a first time through, you're going normal. Otherwise, you're going to have a miserable time. Because you don't know the ins and outs of the enemies. It's like a fighting game.
Well, it's true.
Where it's like, hard is like actually fighting against people. People who are adept at the game, at the fighting game. Whereas normal is like, okay, well, this is where we actually learn how to do it.
But the thing is that it wasn't even that it was that. Like, there were like so many like gun enemies, right? And bazooka enemies. And it was like, this is not the kind of game for this kind of shit.
Well, but you have the flying swallow gets you immediately. It tracks towards the enemy immediately. So you don't really have to worry about those enemies. Those aren't even the bad enemies. The bad enemies are the ones who can grapple you. The ones that punish flying, jumping.
Right.
So the worst is when you have the gun enemies that you're trying to cut their heads off with the flying swallow, while at the same time you have the enemies that bring you down from the air when you're doing that. That's when it gets difficult.
Right.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm so looking forward to playing those games again. Man, just because I want to get good at them.
He played 2 and 2. To be fair, he played 2 and 2 looked better.
Oh, 2,
but 1 looked like one looked so bad.
One is, as I said, it's like a fighting game. It really is like a fighting game where you have to know the enemies really well, just like you would against an opponent in a fighting game. 2 is more like Bayonetta. So if you're a fan of that spectacle fighter and just mowing down lots of enemies, 2 is your cup of tea. I think that's why some people really like number 1 because they're big fans of fighting games.
Oh, okay.
Whereas 2, some people prefer that because they're just big fans of spectacle fighters. I honestly really like both of them because you just feel like a badass no matter what. Especially when you get the scythe in 2. Man, that was good stuff. Giant scythe against all these enemies. It's fantastic.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I got to go into Ninja Gaiden and just do
play
the
2.
difficulty.
Well, or just play 2. Who cares? Just play the new one that they released.
I hate playing them out of order, though.
I know, but there's no...
Like, 4 is probably going to be good. Like, realistically, 4 is probably going to be good. But...
There's no story, if you're wondering. There really is no story.
I got to go through the first 3. I don't know. Maybe I should just sit down and just do it.
Or, if you do play it on normal...
Spend 3 hours a night complaining my face off.
First of all, if you play on normal, you'll be fine. Ninja Gaiden Black, or whatever when you play Sigma, it's going to be fine. Normal difficulty for somebody who's actually good at dodging and knowing enemy patterns, you'll be fine. By the way, there's no ads. So if you play on normal, there's no enemy ads during boss fights or anything like that.
But I did see multiple enemy boss fights.
Which ones?
I think there were ones against 2 bigger guys. But also there was one where you had to kill a bunch of small things and then there was a big thing right after. And if you died, you had to go back.
All the bosses I remember, they were singular and really pattern-based. So again, your cup of tea, no problem. On normal, because on a higher difficulty, yes, some of those, they have ads.
Well, maybe I should just do the normal.
Just do normal. Get through the game, and then you enjoy the second
I hate doing it on normal. My pride just...
At some point, I remember you started doing it on normal, and I don't know what happened. I don't know why you switched.
I started doing what on normal?
I remember you started playing certain games on normal.
I'll play strategy level. I'll play strategy-esque game, like RPGs. I'll play on normal because I feel like they're a little bit different, and the harder difficulties usually mean grinding or doing things in a very maximized way in the case of a strategy game, right? But action games, I just feel like I should be able to deal with them on their hardest difficulty. Which, to be fair, I probably can. I have no doubt I'd be able to beat Ninja Gaiden on the hardest difficulty.
But you might not enjoy it.
But I just won't enjoy it. Yeah. It's not even I might not. I know I will not enjoy it.
You know what you should do? Realistically speaking, what you should do is you play the hardest difficulty and you only use the wooden sword.
No? No? I don't even know what that means, but no.
At the very beginning of the game, after, the first 15 minutes or whatever, you're able to buy weapons. You get to a shop, and one of the weapons they sell is a wooden sword, which does incredibly
Is it ironically
little damage.
The best weapon in the game?
It becomes the best weapon.
Wait, what? How?
So, there's an upgrade system to the weapons.
Oh.
So it does become the best weapon in the end, but only at the end. But at the beginning, it does nothing. It literally, I think it takes you can do it. You can finish the game, I think, with the wooden sword, but it's a miserable experience. And also the moveset is unfortunately, because I originally thought like, oh, this is how I'm going to learn how to play this game well. I thought, okay, let's use the wooden sword, but the moveset is different from the regular sword. So it's not actually a good way to learn how to use the sword.
That should be your next challenge run then. Wooden sword, Ninja Gaiden.
I mean, even just doing Ninja Gaiden on the hardest difficulty would be a challenge run for me. I've never beaten it on higher than normal, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm basically my goal at that point will be to go through from the very lowest difficulty to the highest difficulty. It's not a long game, so I wouldn't mind going through it multiple times.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see as well, like, what are the differences? Like, oh, well, this boss now has 2 extra enemies or something.
I don't know. Jury's still out. I got a couple more days to decide. All right, guys. It's movie time.
That's right. North Dallas 40.
What was the movie about, Raji?
The movie was about...
Because I don't know.
Yeah. The movie, if anyone's seen Wolf of Wall Street, it has about as much drug use and vulgarity as Wolf of Wall Street and how people on Wall Street behave. And this is coming from football players, American football players. Man, I don't know how realistic it is, but Jesus Christ, you really start to dislike football players. It was hard to find any redeeming factor from any of them. Even the main character, what's his name? Elliot, I guess. Wait, was it Elliot? Last name Elliot.
That was his last
What's
name.
What's his first name? Paul? Phil? No, I don't remember.
Phil? I think it was Phil.
Anyway, whatever it was. Anyway, played by Nick Nolte. And he did, I mean, all things considered, he did a good job, I think, acting. But I don't know. It's so weird because even him, because you think like, oh, this guy is going to be a decent person. And for the most part, he was more decent than any of the other players. But yeah, they still behaved really... I don't know. They didn't behave like decent human beings, in my opinion. And man, I was so surprised to see how much drug use, not like recreational drug use, but how much they have to inject themselves to get through the pain.
Yeah, the B12s and the painkillers. Yeah.
And just how much of a toll it is on their bodies. I mean, I knew it. I knew that they sustain injury, but it feels like it's miserable. It just gets worse and worse.
And that's probably how it was in the old days, though, because, like, you know, the average career span for NFL players is not very long, but it's longer today than it used to be because, you know, they got more pads, they got a lot of protections now. You know, back in the 70s, you know, they played with not a lot of protection, although it was getting better at that time. Hits were a thing.
Hits being like what, just pummeling somebody?
Hits being where the team is like, take out that quarterback and we'll give you money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like bounties. That just stopped becoming a thing like 10 years ago when it started becoming public knowledge. And, you know, so people are out there trying to hurt each other. Also, it's very alpha driven back then. You know, sports were very alpha driven. So you said like they're not good people. They weren't good people, you know. And it was the same with a lot of those sports where they just really weren't good people. Why? Because they were just these alpha jocks where they could get away with anything. Like you saw the sexual assault at the beginning of the movie, like, and that was all like real stuff. And it was like, and they said, oh, like these girls know what they're getting into. That was the mindset. That was an actual mindset back then.
Not to mention, I mean, the 70s themselves were not very good towards women at the time. But yeah, it was definitely portrayed.
And the league turned a blind eye to a lot of that. I mean, they still do, but they turned a blind eye to a lot of that for their star players. And I think that's kind of what the ending was, where they weren't willing to turn, you know, they used the ethics commissions and all that kind of stuff, the drug testing, when they just wanted to push somebody out. But if you were good, you get away with literally murder. Now, I heard that, you know, as bad as those players were, the book apparently, it's based on a book. The book apparently is a lot worse.
Even worse, yeah. I remember I read the synopsis about it, and it's like, or the differences. Apparently, because, you know, there's kind of like I would say a semi-happy ending for the main character in the movie. I guess well, first of all, he quits because they basically used the ethics committee to kick him out anyway on account of him partaking in a bit of weed. And even though that's just because they didn't want him there for other reasons. But presumably he rejoined with Charlotte, his girlfriend, and built out his ranch. I'm going to assume that that's what happened. But in the book, he goes back to the ranch. Apparently she's been sleeping with another guy. They both get murdered. They're both murdered by somebody he's played games with, another football player. I don't know how that works, but apparently that's the case. I didn't read beyond that, but yeah, just what a downer ending. Jesus.
Yep. Yeah, in the book, yeah.
But I found it to be very all over the place. Like, and first of all, I don't know. I don't know. Like the audio quality was terrible on the speech. I found anyway. It was really hard to hear what they were saying sometimes.
Yeah, I noticed that. I don't know if it's just the style of the day or whatever, but like sometimes I'd be like, I don't even know who's like looking at the screen. I didn't even know who was talking.
Yeah, because I feel like they overdubbed some stuff. It's like they probably recorded it, but then they had to redub it because I don't know why. Because I've seen other movies from the 70s and they have way better audio quality. So this was unique to this one. Usually, actually, those old movies, the speech is way more audible than anything else, which I love in the old days. Nowadays, movies are really hard to hear. But yeah, this one was just, I didn't know whose name was being said. I didn't know who they were talking about. At the end, the ethics committee, I don't actually know why he was kicked out. I know kind of why, but I don't know exactly why. They were just talking back and forth.
Well, they had a lot of issues. The coach didn't like him, and he didn't take the stuff seriously, which was kind of wild because it was like nobody took it seriously.
I think he took it pretty damn seriously. Like, I don't know. He was doing a good job. He was one of the ones that was actually trying his best.
Yeah, I don't know what the whole thing with him was.
I think
also,
the only I thought at first it was because he was sleeping with this, the girl or the woman that was supposed to marry the brother of the big guy, like not the big guy, the head of the team and everything. But I don't even know if that's the case.
No, I don't think that was the case. I think the thing is you have to like look back at, okay, so the movie was based on a book. The book was semi autobiographical from from a football player. And I think what it boiled down to was that football player thought more of himself than he actually was.
Oh, okay.
I think he was like targeted by the league and like pushed out, but I think it was probably like from his perspective, like he was this innocent party and everything who was like a god football player, and in realistically he wasn't. So I think it's just a little bit of his mind playing with events that didn't happen the way that he wrote them down as.
So it's like,
and so that came across as the jumble in the movie.
I always forget that term, something narrative. What is it again? Where it's like the narrator is not telling the truth, not saying.
I don't know what that's called.
Because the Joker had that same thing, right? Like the movie The Joker, where you feel for the guy, but it's like, well, he's actually telling it in the wrong way. That's not what it was in reality.
Right, but it's not actually like, it's not like he meant to do that. Like he actually thought he had a better, like in real life, he thought he was in a better position against the league than he was.
Yeah, I don't think the movie was that deep in the sense that they didn't actively want it to be that way, but they took it literally and they made a movie. Because it wasn't, yes, it's based on the book, but it was its own thing, I think. They made it so that the character is just halfway decent, I guess.
But no, I think that's how it actually was in the book. And I think that was because the main character in the movie in the movie/book was the NFL player who wrote the book. And I think like I said, I think he just had a higher opinion of himself. He was telling the story about this down on his luck football player, or this godly football player who was getting pushed out by the league in a sea of corruption. Some reason he was targeted, when in reality he was probably targeted for an actual reason. And it just, he wasn't, you get those people that are like, nothing's ever my fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I think that's what he was. It was a nothing's ever my fault kind of deal. So the story just didn't seem right because
there was no reason for it, because we were never told what the reason was, even though there definitely was.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of corruption, though, I did not enjoyed it, but like, man, what an eerie thing to see how, when you remember the guy that was afraid of needles or just didn't want to pump himself full of drugs, so he wouldn't inject himself when he had pain. And then at the end, where the main character is sitting there getting his knee injected, and he's actually like trying to portray it as being like, oh, this is painful, and blah, blah, blah. But then the guy who never wanted to inject himself, he still gets convinced enough to do it. But at the end, the main character explains how, did you know, I think he tells Charlotte this, they basically, like, they tricked the guy who didn't want to inject himself by doing all this, like, to show how, like, oh, look how good this is. It's so eerie. It's like they're basically tools to the coaches and to the managers and so on.
It's true.
I don't know why anybody would want to be a professional athlete, at least especially in American football, I guess, based on this movie.
Well, yeah, well, back then, yeah. I mean, now it's much better, but I get it. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. But yeah, I don't know. There wasn't too much. I like the opening though when he was in the bathtub. When he was in the bathtub, his buddies broke down the door and then shot into the ceiling. I was like, first, I thought that was funny. I was like, okay, we're on pace for a good movie, I think. But then it went downhill from there. But I'm like, why is there a door to the outside off your bathroom? Who has that?
I don't know. I wouldn't mind that. It's quite nice.
Let me just take a poop and then go out on the veranda.
Yeah, why not?
That was funny.
Or try to pee into the toilet from outside? Come on, who wouldn't want to do that?
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
It's a little game.
Anyways, so I don't know. I didn't think it was a very good movie. It had a few good moments, but overall it was not that good. Like when I think about other sports movies from, I don't know, I'm not going to say necessarily back then, but like when I think about like Caddyshack or Longest Yard, I don't know if those are roughly the same time period or not, but I'm assuming they are. They're all older movies. And when I say Longest Yard, I mean the Burt Reynolds one, not the Adam Sandler one. Yeah, I feel like it didn't stack up to those, even though apparently it is considered a sports classic.
I think it's because I don't know, it feels more raw than some of those other movies.
Yeah.
Where it's like they're like feel-good movies, right?
True.
Like I've never seen The Longest Yard, but I feel like from the synopsis, it's pretty, you kind of overcome adversity type situation.
Yeah, you're right about The Longest Yard, but like Caddyshack is like...
That's more of a comedy, right?
Yeah, I feel like Caddyshack is very close to what North Dallas 40 is, in that it was supposed to be, I guess it was heavier on the comedy than North Dallas 40, but it, like everything was all over the place. It was always jumping between characters and...
But they were likable, probably.
True, they were likable.
I haven't seen it in a long time, so I don't remember it well, but yeah, they were likable. Whereas here it's like, I don't know. I don't really like any of the characters that much.
That's true, yeah.
That's the difficulty of these types of movies where it's like, if you don't like the characters, it's hard to get invested in any of their stories, and the jumping around doesn't help you get invested in any of them at that point, because you're not like, oh, I'm dying to see what this character's up to. See, that it's funny how, like, we watched Bad Santa, and I thought, oh, Bad Santa is pretty vulgar. Yeah, this I feel is way more vulgar, even though it didn't actually have that explicit vulgarity.
It's true, this one was worse.
I would feel more comfortable showing a child Bad Santa than this movie, because the life lessons in Bad Santa are actually probably better.
This one was also a product of its time, though, because like they were saying like, gay slurs and all that throughout the movie, and it's like, if they remade this movie now, that wouldn't be in it.
Well, they wouldn't be able to get away with remaking it now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Anyways, very quick King of the Hill.
So no, Pump Up the Volume is still up there for me. Somehow, miraculously, I'm still waiting for a movie to beat it. It's not like it's one of my favorite movies. It's just better than the ones we've seen.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and I'll stick with Beautiful Boy. All right, why don't you tell us what's up next?
All right, let's see here. Randomize. Horse Girl.
Oh, no.
Well, it's, who knows? It's either going to be about a girl who likes horses or one who transforms into a horse.
2020 American psychological drama.
Wow, that sounds good.
Starring Alison Brie. Wait, but not that Alison Brie? What is that? Oh, I love her. Okay, well, we got a good lead actress anyways.
Distributed by Netflix. You can't go wrong with that. Well, you can. It's 50-50. It's either going to be fantastic or awful.
True. I like when you Google Horse Girl, the first thing that comes up, people also ask, what is the point of Horse Girl?
It's going to be a good movie.
Please explain the movie Horse. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, when all your results are, what the is this?
That's beautiful. It's going to be good. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be one of those which we can discuss because probably we'll have different opinions about what the movie's about. And 2020 means it's pretty recent. Like, it's going to be modern, psychological. Very complicated. You know how they do a lot of stuff in these past few years, very complicated, sometimes more than it needs to be, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. Again, depending on, it's either going to be a very good movie or a very bad movie.
True. Probably a very bad movie is my guess.
Well, we'll see.
All right. Word of the fortnight. Why don't you walk us through it?
This time around, the word of the fortnight is agog. A-G-O-G. It's an adjective, and it means full of interest or excitement. And my example is, I am agog when playing Death Stranding. And conveniently, I heard it when playing Death Stranding. Have you heard this word before?
Yeah, I'll never use it in the context of Death Stranding.
No, but have you heard, like, you've heard it before? I've never heard this word before.
I think I've heard it before.
Okay.
I think I've heard it before.
I thought it was quite fun when I heard it. It's like, wow, this is an interesting word.
It's true. It's good. It's a good word. It's a good word. I mean, your use of it wasn't that good, but it's a good word.
I'm still enjoying the game. It's fantastic.
All right. It's Pokemon time. Do 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 do. We are judging the cries of all the legendary Pokemon that have ever existed in head-to-head battles. We're on the third round now, so we've gotten through all of the unknown ones. So these are all sounds that we've already heard. These are the best of the best, but not the best of the best of the best. Just best of the best. We're on matchup 65 overall. This is between 80 and 81. Here's 80.
Nice and loud. Nice roar.
Yep. Really steady, strong, consistent with a nice tail at the end. And 81.
Oh, this is the horse. I want the horse.
Right. It sounds like he's galloping through some brush.
I
or
know,
something,
right?
snapping twigs.
It's part of the cry. They embedded it in their vocal cord.
Yeah, they embedded it in their vocal cord. They're like parrots. They learned what the background sound was to include.
It's not even a horse Pokemon. It just sounds like it. Maybe it's a parrot.
It might be a parrot. That's right. All right, so you're going with 81. I also will go with 81. I like that one. All right, 66 between 8 and 25. Here's 8.
Okay.
That's an old school one. And 25.
Oh, that's the baby. I want the baby.
Yeah, I like the baby.
It's so good.
Like, there's a very clear quality difference between those two sounds.
Well, the baby just sounds like literally a baby. They just recorded a baby. They like smacked it and then cried and.
Oh yeah, they just hit baby.
Well,
how are we gonna make this sound? Oh, just.
It's the easiest way to
baby
do it.
In and we'll take a spoon to it. Yeah. There you go. All right. 25 is moving on. 67 between 9 and 88. Here's number 9.
Oh, I like this. It's like a evil demon laughing.
It's actually true, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, 88. Can 88 beat it?
Oh, this is remember, this is the bird dropping a bomb or something on something or other. I don't know. This one's tricky though.
I'm going to go with the evil demon laugh. I like that one.
Yeah, it's the more simple one. There's no outside things. It's just the demon itself.
Yeah, this one's got a lot going on. Yeah, I like 9. I like the demon. All right, 68 between 4 and 29. Here's 4.
Oh yeah, this is. I don't even know what this is or how we described it originally. Because I like that. Yeah, I like the trail, the deep sounding trail at the end.
He's like, sometimes you talk and then you get like a burp bubble and you got to hold it back.
Okay. That's not as badass as it sounds to me, but sure.
I don't know what you offer me.
Yeah, I don't know. It just sounds like something like stalking in the background.
All right, here's 29.
No, I don't like that one though. I prefer number 4.
Yeah, I prefer number 4 also. Not overly fond of number 4, but I like it more than 29.
29 was probably. This is one of those where it's like it was 2 not so good ones competing, and 29 happened to win.
Yeah, push through whatever, knowing that it get kicked out eventually. Well, there you go. Those are the Pokemon. Got through that nice and fast. Night, everybody.